Welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur, the podcast for mums with an online business who are ready to take back their time, home, business, and self so they can restore the balance and thrive, both at home and at work, without feeling like they have to choose between the two. I'm your host, Sarah Dew, life and biz coach for mumpreneurs. I'm also a mum, stepmom, wife, introvert, breast cancer survivor, and your mentor for making a change for the better. I've learned how to go from surviving to thriving and unapologetically create a business I love and the life I want for me and my family without worrying about what other people think. And now I'm here to help you do the same. Because being an unapologetic mumpreneur doesn't mean that we're selfish or that we don't care about others. It simply means that we are not afraid to show up as our true, authentic selves, to step into our purpose, do what we know is right for ourselves and the ones we love, and take the steps we need to take to make our dream life and business a reality. Join me each week where I'll be sharing all of my best tips and strategies, plus the occasional dose of tough but gentle love to help you feel empowered, motivated, and confident to take action so that you can become the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. So, are you ready to unapologetically create a business and life you love? Let's do this. Hey, Vedulka, welcome to the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast.
Hello, thank you very much for having me.
You are very welcome. Really looking forward to the topic that we are going to be diving into today, all about how deciding to stop doing something in our business is not the same as quitting. And I think it's going to be a really interesting kind of like mindset episode as well. So, yeah, let's definitely dive in. So, just in case anybody who hasn't met you before, do you
Mhm.
want to just share a little bit about you, your family, what you do, your journey, and everything, and all of that stuff?
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I started my whole journey when I came to UK nearly now 20 years ago from Czech Republic, and I always admired people whose hobby or their passion became their way of living. I always loved people who managed to do that. So I was asking myself, okay, what is it for me? What is my passion? So I did some upholstery classes, I did some millinery classes, and I settled on patchwork and quilting. And I absolutely fell in love. As you can see, all of them were about using needle and a thread. But yeah, I just love sewing. I love creativity. Always have been creative. And the only way how I could imagine doing it as a living was having my own shop. So my husband and I opened our sort of fabric shop when our daughter was um, in 5 days she was turning one. So it was very very sort of uh not hard, but yeah, it was a bit challenging to sort of balance that. But because I opened it with my husband and he's been always my biggest cheerleader, and I don't know what I would do without him. I always had the support of him. So at the beginning we were doing it a lot together, and yeah, we started this back on the Isle of Wight, moved it after 4 years to Suffolk, starting all over again, building the audience and everything all over again. But it definitely, opened our possibilities to what we could achieve here compared to on a small island. And in lockdown, as sort of, I think that all of us took that time as quite a bit of reflection time, thinking,
Mhm.
okay, what is it I want to be doing, and is what I'm doing really what I enjoy? So I took that time as well, and actually started a healing journey, and I started to do some courses for like a spiritual growth, which also was trying to eliminate any beliefs and any limitations that I had around a business and growing business and being an entrepreneur and things like that. So I actually ended up, qualifying in that modality, which was theta healing. And at the end of that, I realized that my passion are people, and it's helping people achieve what they want, whether it's now what I'm doing is with their health or in their creativity. Because often, as a teacher of patchwork, I find that half of the time, or even smaller half, I actually teach them the techniques, but the other half is all about encouraging them and giving them permission to do things their way, that sort of unapologetic way that you often talk about. And so yeah, it's been quite a journey. And 2 years ago, I realized that having a fabric shop was never my passion. I kind of felt like I didn't know how else to do what I enjoyed than sort of, selling fabrics and then having the shop next to it. But actually getting to that stage, to that decision of closing it and purely focusing on teaching and on developing my healing business, it it was big, because what I was struggling in that time was those self-doubts, like, okay, but if I close the shop, that means that I failed, and even then you also are faced with reactions of other people. Oh, I feel so sorry that you've closed and everything. And I had to obviously first make the peace with myself that I'm not closing it because it's failing. I'm closing it because it no longer serves what I'm doing, because I no longer have my passion in choosing fabrics and knowing what people will come and buy. Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
but what I want, what is my passion, is teaching, and now the healing part. So, and I feel like there is many of us who struggle with this deciding what is a failure and what is just moving to the direction that you actually want to go. And it wasn't until now, having the distance of 2 years, that I kind of feel like, why didn't I do that earlier? Do you know what I mean? It's
Absolutely.
like, yeah, I just now I've got, first of all, I've got time to do all the things that I want to do because I'm not tied to a premises. I also have got like all the income that I've got from the teaching is actually my income. It doesn't need to go towards paying the bills, paying the rent, paying all the suppliers and things like that. So yeah, I just felt so liberated. But I feel that there is, many women entrepreneurs who sometimes we can get so stuck in what we are doing. And well, I've been doing it like this. It's always worked, and okay, it wasn't really, but it was okay. That we are sometimes afraid of the change. And I think that it's
Mhm.
a shame. And I think that we need to give ourselves the permission to change things when they are not working. And, I love what you're talking about, the meaning of unapologetic being on our own terms. And this is the thing that we don't often give ourselves the permission to just sit down with ourselves and realize, well, what are my terms? And also, what would be the ideal terms? Yeah, we're so stuck in how we are used to doing things that we don't realize that actually I can do things differently and have more time. I also have got a friend locally here who had a very successful for like over 20 years shop with carpets. And but you know what, with all the stuff, with all the rent and all these expenses just going up, she was working harder and harder and harder with bringing home less and less money. So she,
Mhm.
around the same time, actually did the same decision of closing those premises, building, still keeping the brand, still keeping what she has built on, just doing it in a different format. And now she travels to customers. She is not tied to a place. She doesn't have staff. She's got more time for herself and for her family. And at the end of the month, more money.
Yeah. Amazing. Oh my goodness, there's so much there that I just want to unpack with you. And there's so many important messages that you shared there. And what a journey that you've been on of starting off in the Isle of Wight and opening just before your Bubba was turning one as well. That's really bowed down incredible because yeah, I can imagine how hard that must have been, challenging and exciting at the same time. And then relocating to Suffolk
Mhm.
and building it all back up again. But yeah, absolutely right. There's sometimes we can just really hold on to something, and it takes a while for us to figure out what it is that we really, really love to do. Like you shared there, that was just showing them how to actually sew, and everything was just a small proportion of it. A lot of it was that empowerment, the encouragement, and everything, and that's what led you to knowing that you wanted to teach. And it takes a while for us to figure it out, doesn't it, of what we really, really enjoy doing, and then being brave enough to make that change as well, because it's so hard sometimes that we think just because we've started something we have to keep going. And it's something that I see a lot with my clients about, of that handing and holding that space for them where they can give themselves permission to let go of the goals that aren't serving them anymore. So yeah, so a few questions, so many questions I want to ask you about everything you just shared there. So you talked a little bit about imposter syndrome, or that worry of people saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry that you had to shut your shop," and things like that. So, were there any real any other challenges that you had to face in order for pivoting your business?
Yes, I think that what you said, that what you work through with your clients is that giving ourselves the permission, you know, and thinking that yeah, just because we sort of started something that we need to carry on. Like one other thing that I was sort of struggling with um during my career, I bought a huge, massive quilting machine, which is a lot of money, and it kind of puts you in my sort of quilting industry. It puts you in this like a, I don't want to call them elite, but because not many people can afford them, it is like a little sort of elite group. And when I worked with it for like three years, and I had a great time. And but as my healing business was moving forward, I wanted to buy a different machine that was roughly the same amount of money. And what was really challenging was selling that sewing machine, because with that, I was like giving up a status.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? We sometimes put
Yeah.
like a labels, and in my case, this was, I'm a long arm quilter. And that was the sort of label that I put on myself. And I always, I myself always looked at people who were long arm quilters as like, I'm not saying the royalty, not at all, but I looked at them like a little bit sort of up. And now I was just like, I'm gonna give this up. I'm gonna strip myself of that. And it's incredible what labels we can attach to things.
Mhm.
Honestly, it's just a thing. It doesn't change who I am. It doesn't change what I do. Um, and just because I no longer see the benefit of uh, that it can have to my life, but I can see the benefit of this sort of a new, frequency healing machine can do to my family and then to my clients. Um, but yeah, this was a real challenge to, like, and this is what can happen when we sort of start something and we become something. We put a identity, or we create an identity. Well, this is who I am. But sometimes we realize that that identity no longer serves us. And that it was great for a certain amount of time. I'm grateful for that experience. It was brilliant. And but why holding on to something just for the label, just for the identity?
Yeah, that's so, so true. And yeah, like you said, of that status and that identity, I feel like you're holding on just because you want to keep that, but actually it's okay because we change, we evolve.
Yeah.
But it can be really, really hard to do that. And like you said about quitting and failing and everything else. And just from everything that you said, I can tell that you're really like super aware of yourself and your mindset and everything and how you think about things. So, how did you personally separate the idea of quitting from like refining or realigning or pivoting? How were you able to like manage that thought process? Because I know that that's something a lot of my clients and I know a lot of the listeners struggle with, is that like if I'm letting go of something, it means I'm giving up, it means that it didn't work, that everybody was right, that I would fail, though all of those thoughts come up in our mind. So how did you manage that process from switching and pivoting?
So, first thing was actually recognizing that sometimes we can't do it on our own. Sometimes we need somebody to hold our hand. And whether that someone is going to be a business coach, whether in my case, it was the healers that I was, learning theta healing modality with, because the theta healing modality is about recognizing the beliefs that are limiting us. If we believe that um, people with money are mean and horrible, then we are always going to do everything to avoid having money because we don't want to be classed as being mean and horrible. So it's kind of, it was about recognizing these beliefs, but it's sometimes it is about recognizing that we can't. It's not that we can't do it on our own, but that self-awareness comes from having also and being surrounded by people who can be the right mirror for me, who can help me see the things in me that I can't see myself. Because it is sometimes, we can very easily see, oh yeah, you should do this, you should do that, but seeing that about ourselves is sometimes, quite challenging. So, finding the right person that's gonna that's gonna help you in this. And for that, I recommend probably like following somebody in a sense of, like, for example, you share loads of your knowledge and lots of your advice on your podcast, and I can only imagine what kind of magic people experience when they've got one-on-one with you. So, and this is it, listening to your own guidance, like, who do you resonate with? Whose wisdom, whose teachings, whose approach to business, approach to life resonates with you, and then go with them, and see how they can help you. But really, sometimes it is surrounding yourself with the right people, and hiring the right business coach, or the right person who can help you unlock the things inside of you that you struggle to see yourself.
Yeah, that's so true. I couldn't agree more. Having that tribe around you, whether it's people that you're following, whether it's people that you hang out with networking, whether it's in a mastermind or with a coach, having that support around you changes everything. And if they're the ones that they've got the same mindset as you, they've got the same vision, the same goals, they've maybe walked the path that you're trying to walk now, that changes everything for you, doesn't it? And really helps you push past and stay with that positive mindset that I've got this, that it's okay to pivot, it's okay to change, it's okay to refine. It doesn't mean that I'm failing. I love that. So when you were going through all of that, were there any fears that came up around how others might perceive your decision to close your shop? Was that something that went through your mind, or was it something that, ever feeling the urge to just stay because it made sense for everybody else? Or did you just literally just go, no, I'm trusting my instincts and I'm just going to go for this?
Yeah, well, this is it. We have to, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what other people think because let's be honest, everybody around us is more concerned about their own life than somebody else's. That is how it is, you know. But we think we sometimes put such a strong emphasis on, oh, but what are gonna people say? And I grew up in during the communism, and so my parents who weren't part of the communistic party, they so I don't want to say that they lived behind the closed door, but it was a little bit, you didn't let anybody in too much because you didn't know who you can trust. Yeah. So growing up with that, I kind of was like, what are people gonna say? And like I said, we can put the the opinions of others above how we feel.
Mhm.
And this is where we need to make changes. And this is where I feel that where the shift starts, when we start to put ourselves first. First and foremost, you hear it every time you fly somewhere. First, put your mask on before you put even your children's one, because if you faint, who's going to be there to do that for them? And this is what is especially into women. I think it's so drummed into us that we need to be there for everybody else, that we forget to put ourselves first. And so yes, it was quite a bit of healing to do around not worrying about what other people think, because you know what? They don't live my life, you know, and whether they like something or not, or whether they approve of my decisions or not, they don't need to live through them. I do. So
Mhm.
why do we feel like making decisions based on other people's opinions? And this is where, this is where I was sort of attracted to your unapologetic, in the name of the podcast, because, and I love your point of view on the unapologetic, that it is about, finding your way, what works for you. And that starts with that self-awareness and with that ability to sit with yourself and think and look at, okay, are these, are my decisions based on what other people think? Are they based on how other people gonna react? Or are they based on what is best for me? And at the end of the day, it starts by the the ability to put ourselves first often starts by giving ourselves permission to love ourselves and to put ourselves first, and stripping off the beliefs that putting ourselves first is selfish. No, actually, it's not, and I think that it's very important. Like, for example, for mothers who, or for women who care for their children as well as often for their parents, and they are sort of stuck somewhere in between, and they feel like they need to to give enough to the family, give enough to the business, give enough to the parents, sort of everybody else, and then they forget about what is important for them. So yeah, I feel like when it's all stripped down, it actually comes back to how much we allow to love ourselves.
That's such an important message. And I love how you framed that of just that, if we're struggling to make decisions, that just through that lens point of, are we doing this based on what other people will think, how other people will react, or what feels right for us, what works for us to live our lives the way we want to live it. And that's such a great way of looking at it. If anybody's listening, having a struggle at the moment of knowing what to do, just putting it through that lens is so incredibly powerful. Well, it's like exactly as I share on the intro to the podcast is, being unapologetic doesn't mean that we don't care about what other people think. It just means that we're not afraid of doing what is right for us. And it's just such an important message. So have you found going through all of this and all of the journey and all of the like the mindsets and everything else and the permission to change and everything that you've found, do you feel like now that you trust yourself more? Has the way you trust yourself changed going through all of this?
Definitely, definitely. It starts with little things, that intuition that we all have and that is guiding us. It starts by little thing. And I always love to take an example of, when there is a beautiful sunny day and you just have that feeling that you should take the umbrella with you. you know and then later on you regret because that sun, especially here in UK, that sun can change and, and the rain can come very easily. So that little intuition, it starts with little things like that, you know and and also, like, I have been meditating for the last 10 years. And for me, what the meditation is, I know that again, it can be a sort of label, and lots of people will associate different things with meditation. What meditation is for me is time to be with myself. Yeah, because often with social media, with children, with business, there is always so much distraction that we don't give ourselves enough time to just be. And at the end of the day, we are human beings, not human doings. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and this is, I must admit, this was something that I struggled for years. And I would on a beautiful sunny day, I would be like, okay, I'm just gonna go on the patio and just sit down in the sun and just sort of, just soak it all up. And then I would bring the phone with me and bring this with me and bring, and distract myself with everything just to prevent myself to be with myself. Yeah.
Mhm.
And for some people, that sort of the meditation can be just walk in the nature without the audiobook, without the music, just with ourselves. Yeah. For me, often is actually the creativity. That's why I can't imagine my life without ever without sort of creating something, because it is time for me that I like switch the noise in my head and I'm just present with that needle and a thread. So whatever it is for you, it might be sitting on a cushion in a lotus pose, or it might be the walk, might be whatever it is for you. But I feel like we all have got the wisdom. And actually, at the end of the day, as much as it's great to have coaches and somebody who can help you, at the end of the day, you know the best what is best for you. But if you don't give yourself enough time to listen to that, listen to yourself, how are you ever going to find out?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That listening part is so, so important. We just need that time, don't we, to step away, to remove all of the distractions. And that's when our own intuition and our own instincts come back into play again, don't they? And you just need that time to step away, to remove all of the noises, remove all of the shoulds, the needs, the distractions. And then that is when we can really start to trust ourselves again. And then the more we lean into that, the more we're showing ourselves that we can trust ourselves, that we've got our back, and that we can, and it just makes it even easier then for us to make decisions going forward, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Oh my
so
god,
it's
this
small
this is
steps.
such a great conversation.
Exactly. It's a small steps. You start with little things and you build it up.
Yeah, definitely. So would you say with your own journey and your own personal healing journey and everything that you've been on, would you say that's influenced the way that you now view success and the sustainability of your business? Has that changed for you?
Definitely, definitely. Because even though I started my business wanting to find a way how to do something that I enjoy for living, um, as we start business, we see business from the male perspective of success, money, measurability. But actually, for me, that inner feeling of waking up every morning, being happy doing what I do, being happy and having that inner alignment and that inner, I don't know if I would call it happy happiness, but in a way, like happiness can be so sort of flimsy, but you know what? Like at the end of the day, I feel like being happy and being content with where we are, that is way more important for me than any money on a bank account.
Mhm.
So I have started to look at success slightly differently, and yeah, not from that measurability point of view, but actually, like, what am I leaving behind? Am I
Mhm.
leaving behind me people who have got courage to create quilts that they could never imagine before, and that they love doing what they do, and or am I leaving behind me, clients that are happier in their body and in their relationship through my sort of healing business, um, that can't be really measured because we can't always see that.
Mhm.
But for me, at the moment, that is more important for me. And um that fulfillment. Again, you can't measure fulfillment, but if at the end of the day, I am, lying in a bed thinking, this was a good day, I did this and I did that, that is success for me, you know. Yeah. So yeah,
Love
so
that.
it definitely has shifted and has changed. Yeah.
Yeah, incredible. And you're absolutely right. There's so much noise out there, and it's something I speak about all the time. If the definition of success is 10K months and six-figure businesses and all of that, but actually, that's not, you can have all the money in the world in the bank, but if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, then what is the point of doing it all? What is the point of pushing and slogging? And yeah, you may not be able to measure it on paper like you can a bank account, but that fulfillment about the legacy you're leaving behind, the lessons you're teaching your children and the ones that you loved, and then having that feeling contentedness when you go to bed at night, that is success. That is absolute, yeah. And I think we all get to deserve to define our own definition of success. And if it's different to somebody else, even better, because it means that we're on our own and our right path. Oh my goodness, this is such a great conversation. I really could chat with you all day about all of this. So just a couple of questions before we wrap up. If somebody listening right now and they're not maybe feeling really, really happy in their business, or they're thinking, is this the right path, or I don't want to do this anymore, what would you want them to know? What would you say, like, to the version of you who was scared to let go, maybe, or wondering and questioning if you're making the right decision? And then for the woman listening who may be in the same place right now, do you have any advice for them?
Sit with yourself and give yourself the permission to do things unapologetically, to do things your own way. Sometimes it starts by giving ourselves permission to do, to take the time for ourselves, to
Mm,
make the choices, and uh, also give ourselves the permission to make new choices. Yeah, that you don't have to stay in the same patterns. You don't have to stay on that same path. You have the choice and you create your life.
love that. I couldn't agree more. Give yourself the permission to make the change. That is so powerful. That could just be it, the quote from itself. I love it. Thank you so much. So
You're
I've got one
welcome.
question I love asking all of the people that come onto the show, and that is, what does being an unapologetic mompreneur mean to you? And how are you showing up unapologetically every day, both as a mum and as the boss of your business?
Yeah, I think that we sort of touched it, several times today. It is, it is finding what is your way. And sometimes it is a little bit about dreaming. Like if I love that question. Like if money was no issue, what would you be doing? And I think that it's quite an important one because we often base our decisions and our choices based on what kind of money effect it's going to have on our life because of course money are important and they are part of life, but at the same time sometimes when we give ourselves the permission to do things not for the money but for us, it is felt in the business. You can feel it, and then the money just comes automatically. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, rather than putting the money on the reason for making those decisions, what if you put yourself? So therefore the question, like, if money were no issue, would you be doing your business the same way? Yeah. And that is how you can find that unapologetic way, that we are not excusing our decisions because, we're not apologizing for our decisions because we need to do it this way in order to make money, in order to sort of do everything. But if that wasn't there, and just dream, you know, what would it be? Let the imagination flow, and maybe you come up with a brilliant ideas that you could have never thought, and that might make amazing shifts in your business.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, that's such a great question of like if money were no object, because it really does remove all of the expectations and the pressure, doesn't it? And you think actually, if that wasn't the issue, we're only doing it because of the money. If we remove that, it really allows and helps us to bring out what we really want, what we really desire, what really matters to us, the way we want to show up, who we want to be. So, so incredibly powerful. That is a perfect way to end on and wrap that up. Thank you so much. This has been incredible. So many amazing points there and so many powerful mindset shifts, I think, that are going to be so helpful to everybody that's been listening. We'll make sure that all of the show notes and all the links are in the show notes. But if anybody wants to find out more about you and how they can connect with you for your healing programs and everything, do you want to just share where people can find you?
Yes, so my Instagram handle is Heart Healing with Vendulka, and I'm sure it's going to be in all the show notes. And if anybody is a sewing enthusiast, then I also have got an Instagram account for that, which is Vendulka Oliven. So yeah, you can find me on those places, and from there you can find all my websites, etc. So yeah. Thank you so
Brilliant,
much for having
fantastic.
me. It's been really, really pleasure, and I really hope that somebody out there is who's listening is gonna be now brave, or maybe a little bit more braver to maybe approach somebody to help them on their sort of journey to self, and that they're gonna have the bravery to put themselves first. Yeah.
Fantastic. I'm sure it will, because everything you shared has just been so incredibly powerful. Thank you so, so much. It's been so much fun. I think we could absolutely have to have you come back and dive into this a whole lot deeper. There's so much more we could unpack as well.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Vendulka. It's been brilliant. And yeah, thank you everybody for listening today and tuning in and watching it on the YouTube channel if you have as well. And yeah, cannot wait to catch up with you in the next episode. Bye for now. Thank you so much for joining me for another installment of the Unapologetic Mompreneur podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I would love for you to leave me a rating and a review so that other mompreneurs can find this podcast too. Here's to unapologetically becoming the mum, wife, biz owner, and woman you know you are meant and deserve to be. I can't wait to chat with you in the next episode. Bye for now.